Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of NoDQ&A video right here on youtube.com/NoDQCAW, and as always, NoDQ.com. As you can see, starting to get into the Halloween spirit. October is fastly approaching. We have WWE Night of Champions this weekend. You can check out the live coverage at NoDQ.com. But enough of that, let's get right down to your questions. This is from Patrick Strubble. Hey Aaron, love the show. I was just watching Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 21, and I believe it was one of the most underrated WrestleMania matches of all time. What are your thoughts on it? Please answer in video. I agree with you. I think that was just a tremendous match. Now, I've talked about it before. If you've been following No DQ&A video, you probably know by now that I was at WrestleMania 21 in person, and of all the matches I've seen live in person, my number one match would no doubt be Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle. That was as close to a 5-star match that you could ask for. And it was a match that lived up to the WrestleMania hype. It was a WrestleMania quality match, something you would expect to see at WrestleMania. Just a match that really stole the show and made that WrestleMania. So that was an all-time classic. And I think it's underrated just for the fact that Kurt Angle is in TNA and WWE tries to avoid showing clips of TNA talent whenever possible. And that's unfortunate. Hopefully, if Kurt Angle ends up back in WWE at some point, that match will get more attention. They'll show more clips of that match because it really was both of those guys at their very best. This is from DRizzle44. Hey Aaron, long-time watcher, first-time asker. I know it came in bad circumstances, but what did you think of the non-commentary on the last hour of Raw? Personally, I liked it because it made it seem more like a live event. In my opinion, not having commentary as a regular thing or doing it on purpose would be a very bad idea. I think that the commentary is what gets over the storylines and it keeps the people watching at home informed on what's going on. If you have your average viewer tune into Raw and there's no commentary, one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to be confused or they're just going to be bored and they're going to change the channel. The commentary is really important. So hopefully they get everything straightened out and something like this doesn't happen again because it really did throw off the show a lot. And it hurt the show definitely in that last hour. But fortunately it happened towards the very end, so it wasn't, if it had happened like the first segment, it would have been just a complete disaster. And if it was me, I probably would have just said, let's just cancel the show or do something. But it happened towards the end, so they just kind of kept it going. And it was okay for all things considered. It went about as well as one could ask for. This is from DX, Are You Ready? Hey Aaron, what did you think of the Macho Man Warrior feud of the early 90s? Do you feel their rivalry was overshadowed by Hulk Hogan still being the main guy in WWE at that time? Also, do you think that their match at SummerSlam 92 was underrated? Please answer in video. Well, the WrestleMania 7 match was awesome. That was probably the Ultimate Warrior's best match that he ever had. That was a great storyline with those two, and they actually had a really good match, and it meant a lot at the time, the stipulation where the loser would have to retire, because it wasn't where you had guys retiring and then coming back constantly. So the match meant a lot. There was a lot of motion behind it, and then Elizabeth coming out at the end. The problem with SummerSlam 92 is that there was just no way they were going to be able to recapture the heat that first match had. And both guys were baby faces, and the WWE product was starting to lose popularity. And neither guy really had the momentum that they had at WrestleMania 7. So there was just no way that second match was going to be able to compare to the first one. But it was still a good match for what it was. Two big stars clashing, 80,000 people. Although I was never a big fan of the whole storyline with Ric Flair. I think Ric Flair should have been involved in the match, maybe do a three-way, but this was before three-ways were a regular thing in wrestling. But just having Ric Flair out there at ringside, I thought was a waste of his talent. That's just my opinion. And I wouldn't say Savage and Warrior was overshadowed by Hogan. I think that that was really a focal point, and that was one of the top feuds at the time, and I think it got plenty of attention from the audience. This is from Gold Standard 101. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. If it was in your hands, how would have you ended Goldberg's streak? I would have made him lose to DDP at Halloween Havoc 1998. I mean, when DDP delivered the Diamond Cutter, the fans went crazy. Instead of that Nash and Hall crap. Thanks. Well, there were a lot of things I would have done differently if it was in my hands. First of all, I wouldn't have done Hogan and Goldberg in the Georgia Dome on Nitro for free. I would have continued to build up Goldberg as the U.S. champion and have him challenge Hogan for the title at Starrcade, and then have Goldberg beat Hogan at that pay-per-view and win the title. And from that point, I would have kept Goldberg as champion for as long as humanly possible. I mean, look at it from the WWE perspective. Get every last dollar you can out of the Goldberg character. Really run it into the ground. I would have kept that streak going until it was clear that the title needed to go off him and something needed to change. In an ideal situation, I would have had Goldberg as the world champion, continuing to dominate, and at the same time starting to build up another new guy, push him really hard, and give him somewhat of a streak, but make him really a force to be reckoned with, and then have that guy finally beat Goldberg, and you have a new star created, a guy that beat Goldberg and gets over in that way. So that's what I would have done. All right. This is from S-Tate01. Hey Aaron, what are your thoughts on WWE hyping up a match between Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara for WrestleMania 29? And do you think they'd be a great tag team for the tag titles? Yeah, I would definitely put the tag team titles on Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara, especially if you're building up to WrestleMania 29. I think that adds a lot more to the storyline, and it makes the tag team titles mean something. You put the titles on these guys, and then when they finally break up over the titles, it makes the titles seem important, as the titles were the reason that these guys split up, and now they're going to have a match at WrestleMania 29. So I would definitely put the titles on them, and you know, that this match, Mysterio versus Sin Cara, is something that people have been wanting to see since Sin Cara came into WWE. So it's long overdue. Both guys have been injured. It didn't happen at WrestleMania 28. So if you're going to do the match, you definitely want to do it on the big stage, WrestleMania 29. Maybe mask versus mask. Who knows? But yeah, I'm all for having that match at WrestleMania 29. Absolutely. This is from S. Windon95. 2 questions. With Jeff Jarrett deleting tweets about being asked about being involved in the Aces storyline, do you think it's more likely he's involved? And do you think TNA dropped the ball on Bully Ray? In my opinion, his awesome promos should have won him the series. As far as Jeff Jarrett goes in the tweets, I don't really know what the deal is with that. Could just be Jeff Jarrett screwing around with people and trying to keep them guessing. Now, people have been asking me about the Aces and Eights storyline. My initial thought was that Jeff Jarrett was behind Aces and Eights, and that's what it's going to end up being revealed as. That Jeff Jarrett was the one who orchestrated this whole thing because he was mad that Sting was the first guy inducted into the Hall of Fame and not him. That's the logical storyline right there, but knowing TNA, it could really be anybody at this point. I mean, they did this this angle on Impact this week where they had Hogan and Dixie and all of them in a room together and trying to build up dissension that maybe one of these guys is the one behind it and it's somebody on the inside. So they're teasing that it could be anybody, and who knows, maybe it'll be Dixie Carter. I mean, I really don't know. And if TNA had a plan, they could always change it at the last minute. I mean, we all thought that James Storm was going to win the Bound for Glory series and go on to face Bobby Roode for the title of Bound for Glory, and plans changed with that. So really the Aces and Eights storyline could go in any kind of direction, but I'm still going to put my money on Jeff Jarrett just because he's been gone for a while, and the storyline would actually make a lot of sense. I would just go with something that makes sense. As far as Bully Ray goes, you know, TNA decided they wanted to go with Jeff Hardy because, let's face it, Jeff Hardy is legitimately their biggest star. Jeff Hardy, when I was at the TNA house show a couple months ago, Jeff Hardy definitely got the biggest reaction of the night. So they're trying to get a big buy rate for Bound for Glory, and it makes the most sense to put Jeff Hardy in the main event. This is from Davey XD. Hey Aaron, please answer on video. Do you think it's time for Jerry Lawler to retire and sign a Legends contract and let JBL or William Regal do commentary? Or do you think he will come back? I think I mentioned this in the last video. I think that we'll see Jerry Lawler back, at least doing commentary again. Not so sure about him wrestling again. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe he'll have one more match, but I don't know. It all depends on what Jerry Lawler wants to do. But if he wants to come back and wrestle, I mean, I think that if he passes the physicals, they'll probably let him wrestle again. I mean, I don't know. As far as JBL or William Regal coming back, I don't see. You know, a lot of people have been asking me about Regal. I don't watch NXT, so I don't know what the deal is with his commentary. But I always got the feeling that he was like a Lord Alfred Hayes type of guy on commentary, and I just don't see WWE putting him on Raw as a main announcer. Now, maybe they'll bring him in on SmackDown or something, but I could very well see somebody like JBL coming back, maybe not on Raw, but at least SmackDown. If anything, I think it'll be Michael Cole and Josh Matthews on Raw, and maybe they'll bring back JBL to take the spot on SmackDown and do commentary with Michael Cole. That's what I would see most likely happening, but it could really go in any direction. So there's no way to really know for sure. All right, that'll wrap things up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Don't forget, WWE United Champions this Sunday live on pay-per-view. Check out the coverage at NoDQ.com, and I'll see you this coming week for more NoDQ&A video.